Good morning, everyone. So, yesterday I gave you some strategy on how to increase your yeses essentially and help people fall in love with wanting to buy from you. And if you know me at all, you know that I'm very big on the marriage of strategy and energy. So, today I'm going to give you a full dose of energy. Um, so I'm going to tell you a little bit of a background story. I've been a meditator, a spiritual practitioner, an energy healer for almost 20 years. I literally, actually, a meditator longer than that. I started meditating at 12. But energy work and deep spiritual work, probably late teens, early 20s. And my whole life, I've used these practices in my regular life, in my health, in my intimate relationships, in essentially really using my life to grow myself, to evolve. And then one day I kind of had the epiphany, and this was during a difficult time in my business where I was doing so much and getting so very little back for all the efforts that I was putting out. I'm just making sure I'm live. And I kind of had this epiphany about maybe using my intuition, using some of the practices that I was using in my spiritual life and in my personal life in my business. And it was a kind of a weird mix here because part of me felt like I couldn't, like, there was nothing that felt more down to earth and in form than business and money. And it felt almost weird using what I consider to be a sacred pathway, a sacred connection to the divine, for business use. And yet, the moment I started doing that, things shifted very quickly. And so that is a little bit of what I want to share with you. I'm going to share a little bit about like how essentially how to do that, and I'm also going to share why it's important to essentially access and activate our own innate knowing and to become clear and receptive to the guidance and the support and the wisdom that is always already here in the field around us as well as within us. And the without is the within. So whatever we create out there is an extension of who we are and the wisdom that we have access to on the inside. Many of us receive like hundreds of emails a day. And, I'm guessing if you're watching this, there's a good chance that you're a soulful entrepreneur. You're either a transformational coach, a holistic practitioner, a healer, a wisdom teacher in some kind of way. So you probably receive a lot of emails that are essentially telling you what to do in your business, how to get it right, how to be successful, and even like what to do in your personal life and in your own energy. And what happens is we lose our connection with our own innate knowing because we're focused out there and we're reinforcing the belief that wisdom is out there. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't information or there isn't things for us to get out there. Again, our outer reality is an extension of ourselves. So if something shows up, there might be something in us, in it for us. But we have to always know that we are the final authority. Wisdom, decision always has to come from this inner place, or we get lost, or we don't get results, or we essentially almost abuse ourselves by essentially doing all this work and getting no result. And then it reinforces this idea that we don't have what it takes, that no one wants what we have, which then becomes a vicious cycle. So let me introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Ilsa Kamtiader. I'm the founder of the Sovereign Entrepreneur Academy, and where I help essentially soulful entrepreneurs, mainly healers, holistic practitioners, transformational coaches, to get booked out in their practice, to fill up their offers without burnout, without doing anything that's out of alignment, um, and essentially really reconnecting to their ease and their joy. In my program, we marry strategy and energy as well as community to help us all essentially be seen, um, serve our heart out, and soar. And we're starting again at the end, like literally our meet and greet is this Friday. So if you've been looking for a really supportive community that's going to bring you both the strategy, the step-by-step organic strategy with the energetic alignment and intuition and embodying sovereignty, as well as the real support of feeling seen and safe and working together of other spiritual leaders, then I invite you to check it out. I will, at the end of this live, put a link in the comments to check it out, or you can message me directly, or you can put details in the comments, and then you will get access to it. So as I was saying, we get hundreds of emails a day, at least I do. We get bombarded in social media by other people's content, by opinions, by ads. We end up joining, for many of us, one masterclass, one webinar, one challenge, one free gift after the other, thinking that the answer's out there. And if you are a soulful entrepreneur and you've been trying to get yourself out there, you've been trying to have the impact and make the income is possible with your gifts, then you know what I'm talking about. And you've probably been doing a lot of these things. What happens is it moves our focus, it moves our energy away from ourselves, away from the wisdom that is always already here, and it puts our focus on other people's way, other people's wisdom, and then we wonder why we're not getting the results we want. I've got news for you. More than likely, the answer is not out there. More than likely, whatever you're going to get out there, even if you have a little piece of it that makes sense for you, if you try to use it without really checking in within yourself, you will not get result because it's not yours. It's theirs. So when we go out there for guidance, essentially we think that somebody else has got the solution, somebody else has got the answer. What happens there is we reinforce a wounded identity within us. We reinforce an identity, a self, and we start operating and making decision from that identity, that self that doesn't feel good enough. So the not enough identity essentially feels stuck, feels small. It feels like it doesn't have the answer. It feels like it can't. It doesn't know how. It doesn't have what it takes. Like there's all these things in there. It's not enough. What happens here is that the identity that is not enough can never create enoughness out there. The identity that feels like it's impossible for it to create and get what it desires cannot create infinite possibilities out there. Essentially, this identity is in opposition to success, not because it doesn't want success, it absolutely does. But what you have to realize is the not enough identity, if she or he actually creates success out there, it destroys its identity. Suddenly it is enough. Suddenly it does have, it can, which then destroys its identity. You have to understand that our identities are wounded identities until they're healed, until they're released and they're integrated into our own sovereignty. Part of their main job is to stay alive, is to stay safe. So they will sabotage any kind of creation of success because it doesn't feel possible for them. So the I don't know, I can't, I don't have, I'm not enough identity cannot create I know, I can, I have, I am enough. And, I will often say to clients, I actually think I did a training maybe a week or two ago about this. We can't create what we want from its opposite. So we can't create freedom and ease and abundance from hustle, struggle, and scarcity. We can't create an aligned business that we love and that brings us joy from doing a bunch of shit that we hate and that is totally out of alignment and drains our soul. We essentially, it's the same for our identity. You cannot create possibilities from a self or an identity that doesn't feel like it can. So when we make that shift and find the source of our own power, the source of our own knowing within us, then we learn to become what I call inner led. And when we become inner led, we actually start to embody an energy, an identity that actually knows that the answer is within. This identity knows that they have access to the answer, that it is possible for them. When you shift to that identity, that sovereignty within you, then you start to have access to a field, what I call the field of all knowing. And the field of all knowing, yes, it's within you, right? Because the within is the without, but it is also all around us. It is in nature, it is in our ancestry, it is in our guides and angels and our soul. But the access to this always comes from within. Like for me to have access to the guidance of what I call the council of light, we each have our own council of light. For me to have access to that, I can't go out there. It has to come from within. For me to have access to my soul, the wisdom of my soul, the wisdom of that sovereign self, that future self, I have to feel grounded in myself. And that's when, essentially the downloads, it might come from all around us, but the downloads comes through us. When we don't feel like we can or we deserve or we're not enough, and there's shame, there's guilt, there's all these things, there's resentment, there's closeness, there's tightness, then all the support that's actually already available all around us doesn't get to come in. It's literally we're on the wrong channel. It's not that it's not coming in, it's there, but we're on the wrong channel. So when we shift to the one who knows, and the one who knows that she has the answer, he has the answer, then we get to create, we get to act from that place of being enough, from that place of certainty, from that place of being the source of our own guidance, our own success, not anything or anyone out there. And that is a fundamental aspect, is when you do that. So I'm going to give you an example. In my Sovereign Entrepreneur Academy, I teach a lot of step-by-step organic strategies. But I always, or when I work with a client one-on-one, but I always tell my client, okay, it's your job to check in and to see what about this strategy resonates, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be added, what needs to be removed, what needs to be shifted about the strategy for it to work for you. What that means is that in the end, I'm never responsible for their success or their failure. They are. I give them back complete sovereignty, complete authority, complete power over their lives and their business. And they get to figure out what to do to make it work for them. Because what works for someone else might not always work for you. Sometimes it's as simple as a word. I was doing some spiritual practice and there was like an incantation that you had to say to kind of like get started. And I was trying to do the work, but the words were not fitting. And I actually shifted a couple words in the incantation. Like I just checked in and say, why is this not working? And the guidance was that the words were no longer in vibrational alignment with myself. And so I shifted a couple of the words and replaced a couple sentences with my own words. And suddenly there I was doing the practice and really getting all the value out of it. Business strategy is not that different. You get somebody who gives you something out there, you have to literally take it in, work it, digest it, alchemize it, and pull out of it the wisdom that is there, that is unique for you and to you. And that last step, people don't do. That's why so many of us, and I'm including myself in that because I spent months following great strategies, doing tons of content, doing all this stuff, getting absolutely no result. And that's because I wasn't taking in the information I was getting and really bringing it in myself to see what in here is for me. What in this piece of wisdom, this piece of information, can I pull out and make mine? And how do I shift it to make it mine? When we start doing that, then all the knowledge you need becomes available. Like you get to figure out exactly what you need to do more of or less of in your marketing or in your offers, what's unnecessary, what the right answer on how to tweak a strategy so you get results, how to shift your messaging or your branding so you're actually attracting your ideal clients, what to shift in your own belief system so that you're not repelling the people you want to work with while attracting people you don't want to work with. It's all comes from within. Everything you get from out there is information for you to chew on, digest, alchemize, literally take the nutrients, take the wisdom out of it and make your own. And you have to know how to do that step to get the results you want to get. So, and then you come up with your own pathway, essentially. Your business is an energetic extension of you. So the guidance and answers have to be unique to you. And they have to come through your own pathway in some way, or they'll not be yours and they won't work. It won't feel right. It won't feel aligned. It won't bring you joy. It'll take too much work. Essentially, like you'll sabotage the results in some ways because it doesn't feel like it's yours or it came from you. So you don't feel like you deserve it. So in my business, I share all these strategies, but I make sure that people know how to connect within and to the energetic field without and make what I share with them theirs and how to tweak it so that they actually get results. So there's a few ways, like I'm going to give you a few ways that I work with people in that way. There's quite a few ways to activate your own intuition or activate your own innate knowing for support in business. And I go through all of those and a lot more in my Sovereign Entrepreneur Academy. So first one that I use that a lot. I like it because it's quite grounded, is learning to access either your future self, so a self within you that has actually already reached success, has already manifested and created, designed what you want in your highest vision, in your highest work. And you get to go and connect with that self, both energetically, but also very tangibly, and have conversation and figure out what you need to do different to actually start getting results. I also do that with what I call my sovereign self. And the sovereign self is essentially, it is like the future self, but the sovereign self is the highest, most elevated rendition or embodiment of who you could be in this lifetime. So Ilsa, we're all on a journey to becoming our highest, best, most elevated self. All of us have essentially the highest creation we could become in this life, in this body that you're in now. That's your sovereign self. It is if you were completely embodied, completely powerful, completely in love, in absolute trust, who would you be? What could you create? If you believed in the infinite possibility of what is possible for you, who could you be? What could you create? That's your sovereign self. Your soul self, or your sovereign soul, is that being that's beyond this body and this mind and this rendition. So one ways of connecting to your innate wisdom is to learn to connect to your future self or that sovereign self, and to essentially have that self be your guide, have that self be a co-creator in your business, because essentially they know what's possible. Another way to connect is learning to connect to soul, learning to connect to the soul, to the spirit of your ideal client. So when you think of time as non-existent, every client you could possibly work with is already there in that matrix. They already, at some level, have worked with you. So you can tap into their spirit, into their energy, and figure out what is it they most need from you to essentially be attracted to you, so you guys can do that sacred work together that you are destined to do. And what happens is when you do that is you collapse time. You literally start figuring out what is it they need, what is their languaging, what is the energy they need you to emanate and to embody, so that suddenly you become visible to them. And what happens is what is in potential becomes reality. So that's number two. Number three, and I've talked about this in another video, I spent a whole video talking about this, but your business, your sacred work is actually its own being. It has its own destiny. It came almost like a child. It came through you to come into full potential of what it can offer and bring. So if you have a healing gift, if you have a coaching gift, if you have a signature process that you use with clients, all of that is an extension of you, but it is also its own being. And so something that I've found really powerful in my own work is to connect to the soul or the spirit of my business. Like, again, like almost the sovereignty of my business, so the highest rendition of my business, and to allow that to infuse the choices I make, to allow that to guide me in where I'm stuck, what I need to shift, what I need, how I need to show up, what I need to do more of and less of, where am I getting in the way of what is possible, both for myself as a sovereign being, but also for my business as a sovereign entity that has its own destiny. So one is connecting to your future self or your sovereign self, your sovereign being. Two is learning to connect essentially to the sovereign spirit or the soul of your ideal client, so they can guide you in what it is they need from you, and to hear from you and to see in you, to be attracted to work with you. Three is connecting and communing with the sovereign being of your business, and allowing your business to start guiding and supporting you in what you need to do to help it come into full fruition into the world. Number four is what I call the unseen forces. So the unseen forces, some of you might be familiar with the Akashic field or the Akashic record. Essentially, the unseen forces is where your council of light lives, dwells. And that can be guides, ancestors, angels, wisdom keepers, nature spirits, and elementals. Essentially, you have your own council of beings who are there to support you. And depending on what you're going through in your life, some of those might switch. So if you're going through a big health crisis, you will get different council of lights who will come to support you through that. If you're going through some major transition in your family or in your emotional life, different beings will come. If you're bringing out a sacred work into the world, then different beings will come to support you in that. If you're doing deep spiritual work and trying to actualize and evolve and become enlightened or wake up, different beings will be there for that. So we have infinite support around us, and they're definitely connected, but the only way to connect is to connect from within or through us. So that's number four, is to essentially have a practice, and I teach that in my program, is how to sit in that luminous field of all knowing and start asking questions and getting very direct guidance on how you need to show up, what you need to do to start having the impact that you need, that you know your work is there to have. Um, and then the fifth one, and I might have made this, I probably should have made this the first one, but the fifth one is to really have a practice where we learn to become and stay clear and open so that we can receive. So and there's so we can receive anything, right? Like, so we can receive support, so we can receive downloads, so we can receive guidance, so we can receive creative ideas, so we can receive abundance. I also did a couple weeks ago a whole live on the different steps for learning to receive, because a lot of us who are soulful entrepreneurs, who are healers, holistic practitioners, wisdom teachers, coaches, we're really good at giving. We're not always so good at receiving. And that stems again from this identity that I spoke of earlier in this live, that identity of not enough, not deserving. So we essentially have to learn to be open, to trust, to receive, so that the guidance that's meant to come to us, the downloads, the creative ideas, the abundance can do that. And then we're giving from overflow. We're giving from inspiration. Um, so number 5, that learning to stay clear and to stay open is essentially bringing down all our walls, bringing down the walls uh, that come from not feeling safe, from doubt, from resistance, from not feeling good enough or worthy enough. And that's a lot of inner work. And some of that, like the other 4, like connecting to our sovereign self, connecting to the unseen forces that love us, connecting to life herself, that essentially created us as the most unique being possible. Some of that helps to remind us that we are worthy, that we are here because we have a purpose. Um, but there's also some inner work, learning to heal wounds from the past, learning to become our own best friends, learning to essentially activate that sovereignty and that soul within us so that we're not beating up on ourselves. So, the thing I want to leave you with is I don't believe for a second that we can't use these unseen forces. We can't use the beyond. We can't use the sacred for our business. From the perspective of the beyond, from the perspective of this luminous field of all knowing, our business is not mundane. The mundane is actually sacred. There's nothing that is not worthy of their support and worthy of coming into its full embodiment. On the contrary, when I was sharing how I used to use all these sacred practices in my own personal life and in my own spiritual life, but I'd never used them for business, the moment I started doing that, it was almost like my guides had like a little party. It was almost like my soul, my sovereignty was like, finally, finally you're using us for this as well, and we can help you there, because that is so much part of your spiritual evolution. Business, marriage, enjoyment, abundance, money are all part of spirit. They're all part of our spiritual evolution. If you followed me at all for a while, you will hear me say over and over, there is nothing that will help you grow and evolve as a spiritual being like starting a business, because it will like really trigger all sorts of shit within you. That stuff that gets triggered is our ability, our opportunity to heal, to grow, to expand. And the unseen forces absolutely love to help us in all of that, especially if your business or your work is about changing the world, is about helping people transform their lives. Then your business is not just there for you, it's there for the world. So the unseen forces absolutely are committed to helping you succeed. Most of the time, we almost feel like it's sacrilegious to do that. And I'm here to tell you That has not been my experience, and that has not been the experience of my clients. So that's my invitation to you, is to make sure that when you take something from out there, a strategy for growing your business, you're reading a book about it, like anything that doesn't come from you, make sure that you take it in and you check in with your own innate guidance, with your own sacred GPS system on the inside, and that you tweak it or you do what you need to do so that you can show up and use it as yours. It is your wisdom, and you stay the source of what you put out. And that is how you will get results. Okay, I mean, I think I'm checking my notes, see if I have anything else. That's it in terms of it. If this is really interesting to you, if you know that you've been trying a whole bunch of strategies and nothing has worked, then I invite you to join the Sovereign Entrepreneur Academy. We start, I think, literally like our our kickoff call is this Friday. We've got 8 amazing soulful entrepreneurs in there, all of them healers, holistic practitioners, or transformational coaches. So very high vibe. And we're going to marry strategy and energy. And we're going to really use the community to help us feel super supported, seen, and safe. Um, if that feels like something you could use, then I invite you to check it out. You can put details in the comments. You can message me. Like I'll get on a call with you and see if it's the right fit for you. And then I am going to put the link in. Hey Chloe, I see you. I'm seeing your. I'm going to put the link inside the comments right now so you can actually access it if you want that way. And I would love to have you. I would love to have 1 or 2 more people. 8 is an amazing number. It is the number of infinity. And I think it'd be fun to have a couple more people. And so if you feel called, if you're watching this and you feel like you've been a little stuck and you're ready to create abundance and fill your programs with a lot more ease and know exactly what to do step by step, then I would love it if you joined us. We are in founding members right now, so lots of bonuses. Really, like the price is extremely it's not affordable, but it's totally approachable. And lots of great bonuses that will not be available later. So, yeah, that is that. I hope you got something out of that. If you're still here, say hi to me. Let me know that this resonated with you. Let me know in what way you've used your own intuition in your business and whether or not that's made a difference for you. All right. Have a wonderful week. I will talk to you soon. And again, if you want to know more about the Sovereign Entrepreneur Academy, I put the link in the comments, or you can feel free to message me and let's hop on a call, like a 20-minute call. You can get to know me. I can figure out if it's a right fit for you, and we can take it from there. Bye, guys.